personal injury law. I know you're a big baseball fan. I know the Blue Jays obviously rolling. Probably not the start to the spring many people had wanted, but then again, it's spring training, so who really cares? But do you like what the lineup that they're bringing back?
No. I don't.
End of story.
End of story. No, I don't.
Very average lineup.
Yeah, just average. There's nothing really there to get excited about. I'm glad Batista's back, but they haven't addressed the other holes in their lineup. And I still remember back from 1993 until, 2015, where the Toronto Blue Jays were perpetually a third-place team in the AL East. I'm still of that mindset. We've had a great couple of years, but I want to see more success and more moves being done, especially Toronto in a non-salary cap league should not be acting like a smaller market team. The market size is not Oakland. There's no reason why the Toronto Blue Jays should be taking a Moneyball approach. It's not my money again. Spend it. Attendance is up. Different Rogers products are up. Show the product on the field. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah, and I think Rogers is the richest owner in professional sports.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about what they're able to bring in. A couple of names. You mentioned not being able to address certain portions of the lineup. I've heard Angel Pagan is a possibility, maybe. What about Brett Laurie? Would you be interested in going down that route again?
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. The crazy thing is we trade Brett Laurie and then we get an MVP. That should tell you something. He's a nice guy, and he tries really hard. And you know what? Off the bench for defensive purposes, if he's still a good defensive player, sure. But to rely on day to day, I'm not so into that.
Have you been following the World Baseball Classic?
This morning before I came into the studio, I turned on, I think it was Sportsnet, and they had China playing Japan. And I don't know any players on the Chinese team or the Japanese team. I profess to know nothing about it, but I found it very interesting, the atmosphere at the stadium. I think they were playing in Japan, so you had a lot of people cheering and chanting. Just the atmosphere, it was very, very cool, and it was packed. I don't know, there was 50, 60,000 people at that dome.
I get the feeling it is much larger of a tournament and means a lot more to some of those teams than definitely us. And us grouping us in even with the United States.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sense I get because it's the one opportunity where Japanese baseball players who aren't in the major leagues but who are, staying over in the Japanese professional leagues, it's their one chance that they can show the rest of the world what they can play. And I think the same approach kind of applies for the Cuban-born players, although I know they're kind of going back and forth a little bit more now. But certainly in the last couple of incarnations of the tournament, that was kind of the feeling that I got there too.
I agree. And I read something interesting about Canadian players playing for Team Canada. A lot of the guys who play for Team Canada, they're in the minors. And in the minor leagues, what often happens is teams aren't playing to win, teams are playing to develop. So teams are playing to develop certain talents. And what a lot of these players say is when they put on the maple leaf and they play for Team Canada, it's one of the few times in their late professional careers that they're actually playing in meaningful games to win and not to develop their skills. And I find that very, very interesting. And you can see that they're playing with a lot of heart and determination. Now, mind you, Team Canada lost 9-2, I think, to Dominican, but Dominican's a far better team. But it's just the difference between playing in the minors where you're playing there to develop and perhaps individually to get to the bigs, because they're not playing for the team. They're playing to get to the big leagues. They're playing for themselves.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think a lot of people maybe don't understand or don't care to understand that. But, I mean, we've all seen Bull Durham, right? As soon as Nuke LaLoosh is good, he goes up. And then who cares about the Durham Bulls? Nobody does. They release Crash, and everyone goes out the window.
There
right?
you go.
You know what I mean? Is that a good analogy? There you go.
An excellent analogy. I like the movie.
Yeah, and then you got Cougars running around. But, Colin, they ended up losing 9-2 last night. And I know you were kind of a little bit under the weather, probably didn't watch too much of the game, but I think it went about as well as I expected when you were putting on Ryan Dempster, who hadn't pitched since, I think, 2013 in the majors.
I love the story of guys like Peterborough's own Mike Reeves getting a chance to go play for Team Canada. I like that, but when you have to start a Ryan Dempster, who hasn't played in the majors in a couple of years, and an Eric Gagne, who was playing for the Ottawa Capitals last year, in senior ball, when those are the players you're getting, you're not going to be able to put much of a scare into the Dominican Republic, who has Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes, players like that. I think Israel is a nice story. The fact that they're moving on is a nice story.
3-0?
3-0, I think, yeah. And Canada's got a really tough draw. They've got the Dominican, and I think, do they have the U.S. too?
Yeah, they're in the same group with Colombia.
So, I mean, they have little to no chance of moving on. But Israel's a nice story, but it's kind of a shame that the best Canadian players aren't playing in this tournament.
Yeah, it still kind of is, and Again, I don't know. Maybe we always look at it through the hockey lens, but I'm just imagining some of the better hockey players. Imagine if Sidney Crosby, come World Cup time, said, well, I'm not going. Because Joey Votto, he didn't even have a good excuse. He just said that he wanted to go to spring training and get ready for the season. And I think that's kind of what it says to the cloud of the tournament, or at least how we sort of look at it. But I would like to see them pick up a victory over Colombia at least. You don't want them to go 0-3.
No.
And it would be nice to kind of jab the States. We beat them once upon a time, didn't we? What, 2009?
Yeah.
I think? Yeah.
Was that a stubby clap team?
That was definitely a stubby clap team. And Pete Orr was one thing. But it was very fun sort of watching the broadcast. And at the very least, baseball is back in one way or another. Brian Goldfinger, Goldfinger Personal Injury Law. If somebody is interested in contacting you, Brian, about any sort of matter, it could be an automobile accident, it could be a slip and fall, doesn't matter. You cover a wide range of stuff, and I know it's very nicely listed on the website, which is...
Yeah, they could check out the website at goldfingerlaw.com, Goldfinger like the James Bond movie, or email me at Brian, BRIAN, at goldfingerlaw.com.
Fantastic stuff, Brian. We appreciate you coming in as always and taking time to talk a little sports with us.
Thank you so much for having me in. Always a pleasure, guys. Get well soon, Colin.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I'm going to take the night tonight. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. But I got a busy weekend. I got to go on the road with the Pete's all weekend. So
Get some more wins, right?
Yeah,
get some more wins. What, 40 and 18?
Yeah, 40, 18, 2 and 3, I think. And every time I watch on Kojiko, I see your mug right at center ice.
I like that. I was never good enough to play, and I said, how can I get really, really close to the game? Well, get a rink board and a few pucks off the face, a few body checks.
There you go. Why not? Yeah. I always get a kick out of that when they do the slow move in for the face off at center ice. There's my man Goldfinger right there. Brian, again, thank you so much. And we'll make sure to post all that information too on our website. That's extrapeterborough.ca. It is 11:39. You can listen to the regulars Peterborough Roundtable number 2 coming up with Paul Rellinger around 11:20. Up next, we're going to tell you where Richard Simmons is and why people care. Also, our own Missy Knott's musical feature of the week. Don't go anywhere. This is the regulars, and this is Talk Sports Radio, Extra 90.5. Actually, Brian, I got to give you a proper extra here.
You are a clever, resourceful man, Mr. Bond. Well, thank you. Perhaps too clever.
I always forget that, so I need to slip that in there. You're listening to the regulars, Talk Sports Radio, Extra 90.5.